I can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I've plenty of, baby. Dream a while, scheme a while, we're sure to find happiness. And I guess all those things you've always
This is Ed Schroeder. My name is Aliece Pickett. We are the founders of the Film Society of Screwball Comedy. We are former law partners, and we are married. So let the questions begin.
Let's start with the poster art. When they were advertising this film, the poster art shows Amanda and Adam tugging on a pair of pants with a caption, "Who will wear the pants?" It's a great visual, but underlying the laughs, like a lot of screwball comedies, it tackles some tough social issues. And I guess it's easier to address some of these social issues with a little bit of laughter than a lecture.
Oh, definitely. And that's what makes Screwball so effective, because it is so fun, but there is a message going on underneath. The pants are, of course, a metaphor for gender stereotyping. And the problem with gender stereotyping is that you attribute certain factors based on gender that may not be the case. The poster brought to my mind an incident that happened to me my time as a trial attorney in the 1990s. There was a rule in some courts in the Orange County Superior Court where women were not allowed to appear in court in pants. And one day I was attending a status conference, and on the docket there were a number of cases, and a case was called, and a woman approached, and she was wearing pants. And the judge refused to hear her case and ordered her to go home and change her clothes. I looked at her face, she was embarrassed and humiliated, and I thought to myself, the message is the judge is making her, she has to identify her, I guess, that she's a woman with the dress, but what does being a woman have to do with lawyering?
Nothing.
And it took an order from the California Supreme Court to stop that rule.
And we like to think we're so progressive in California. That's just such an outrageous thing that a judge could have his little fiefdom, just a bloviating jerk. I mean, what? Outrageous. But back to Screwball. By definition, there's usually some improbable plots, and this one's really crazy.
It's true.
But isn't this based on a true story?
Yes. This script, it's brilliant, the screenplay, and it did receive an Academy Award nomination. But it is based on a true story. And here's what happened. The actor Raymond Massey and his wife, Adrienne Allen, were divorcing. Married attorneys represented opposing sides in the Massey divorce. Then the married lawyers divorced and married their clients from the Raymond Massey case.
Truth is better than fiction. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
And Garson, Canin, and Ruth Gordon were so intrigued by this, they said, "Oh, we just have to do something with it." And that was the origin of the screenplay.
And they won the Oscar for it.
Well, they were nominated.
Or nominated, I'm sorry, you're right. Let's talk a little more about the screenplay. They were a married couple.
Yes, and we've had several couples, married couples, in this film series represented. The plots in screwball comedy are so improbable that to ground it, you really need the relationship to be authentic and true. And I think that the writing partners who are romantic couples do bring an authenticity to the characters and to the screenplays that makes them grounded and more authentic feeling. We had in this series Bringing Up Baby, and the writing couple Hagar Wilde and Dudley Nichols wrote that. We also had The Thin Man, written by Dashiell Hammett. Now he was with longtime partner Lillian Hellman, famous writer. She did not contribute to the screenplay of The Thin Man. However, she was the inspiration for the character Nora Charles.
And we love Nora.
Oh yeah. So it was interesting. Here, as we apply this, you've got the writing couple were very good friends with Spencer Tracy and Katherine Hepburn, and they wrote the screenplay. Adams wrote specifically for them to play, incorporating in their personalities and their romantic relationship and the challenges they had. Katherine Hepburn, of course, was famously independent, and she had a confidence that bordered on arrogance.
Yeah.
And you have Spencer Tracy, he's a mug, he's a regular guy, and he's very relatable. I mean, they were a screwball couple in real life.
They were. They played it well.
Yes. One other thing that I wanted to mention was that, undergirding the laughs of screwball comedy, it does tackle important social issues, like the gender stereotyping and domestic violence. For decades, spousal rape was not recognized as a crime. Likewise, domestic violence was not prosecuted, and it took the spotlight on O.J. Simpson and his history of unprosecuted domestic violence to affect change in that area.
It sometimes takes something extreme to come back to some common sense on
Exactly.
things. But a little bit more about the couple, each of them individually. I always think of Ruth Gordon more as an actress, but she was quite a writer.
She is amazing. And yes, she had a huge writing career. She wrote books, plays, screenplays. She wrote 6 screenplays for our director of this picture, George Cukor. And she received 3 Oscar nominations for writing. And her memoirs were funny and insightful. Each week before the film, we bring research materials that we have on the table in the lobby, and I do have her memoirs out there. They were outstanding. But as you mentioned, she was also a very accomplished actress. She acted for decades, from The Silence, when she appeared in Fort Lee, New Jersey, all the way through to the 80s before her death in 1985. She received an Acting Academy Award as Best Actress for Rosemary's Baby in 1968, and also for Harold and Maude.
And Garson Canin was no slouch either, was he?
No, he was a director and writer of plays and films. He directed the original Broadway production of Funny Girl starring Barbra Streisand. He directed 2 great screwball comedies, My Favorite Wife, 1940 with Cary Grant and Irene Dunn, and the funny screwball comedy Tom, Dick, and Harry with Ginger Rogers, 1941. And so he also wrote 2 great stories for Judy Holliday, who plays the Doris Attinger character in this film, Born Yesterday and Then It Should Happen to You.
I love her, and particularly Born Yesterday, but today it was kind of like a street test for her for that movie in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But what makes today's movie a screwball comedy? Because this is a little outside the normal screwball comedy.
Well, besides the satire on institutions, this, you do have, as I mentioned in the introduction, the battle of the sexes, which is a core component of every screwball comedy. And the battle of the sexes exposes the couple's vices and their stupidity. Here in Adam's Rib, Amanda is, she is certainly anti-heroic in the sense that she seeks out to oppose her husband in a case that was involuntarily assigned to him.
He tried to get out of it, he couldn't.
Right, he doesn't want to do it, and she seeks that out. She actually puts her cause above her marriage.
That's a tough one.
And likewise, Adam is here he is this highly educated and experienced assistant district attorney, and yet he runs away from conflict in his marriage like a petulant child. And that's the thing about screwball comedy. We're laughing, but you do see this couple on a journey, and they have to earn each other.
They do.
And they're changed people by the end.
Oh, they're different. They have the war wounds, to be sure.
Exactly.
A lot of screwball comedy is the sexual tension and the desirability of a woman. And how does the portrayal of a desirable woman change in the movies during this era?
It changes quite a bit. And Hollywood is, of course, and films are always a reflection of society and what's going on. And there were two factors, that and the fact that Hollywood was very sensitive to federal government, wanted to stay out of the federal government's crosshairs for regulation purposes and scrutiny. And so Hollywood studios, the executives wanted to push forward government's messaging. And during World War II, with so many men overseas, federal government needed women to get out there in the workforce, cover those jobs, keep the economy going.
Rosie the Riveter.
Exactly, exactly. So to help with the war effort. And so films reflected that. Women who were working were very desirable, beautiful women, and shown in a very positive light. Well, that's all well and good, but then World War II ends and we have 15 million American men coming back, and the federal government had a strong interest, wants to get those men employed, and the government wants women to stop working and give those jobs, give their careers to the men. And you see this pivot in the Hollywood films. Now, women who are working in the films are portrayed as unfeminine losers. The desirable women in films now are married, they have children, they stay at home, and no career. And you see this in film after film, and it percolates right down to television. You've got 1952, Ozzie and Harriet.
And then Leave It to Beaver, and that became the new ideal.
Yes.
But how does screwball comedy defy that message?
Well, it's so untraditional, and it is a satire and silly, and so it, like the switching gender roles, which is very common, it puts men and women on equal footing, and from a financial standpoint, you see the female characters in screwball comedies financially, they're either, to be on equal footing, they're either from a wealthy family, they're an heiress, or they have a career. Many women in screwball comedy you see a doctor character, reporter, executive, novelist.
Otherwise, they had to pretty much suck it up and take it because they had no options.
Right. I mean, the professions were generally not open to women in the 30s. Socially, in screwball comedy, you see the women are given allowances that were generally reserved for men. And it's funny to see, but also it is sending a message. In Adam's Rib, Amanda, of course, is an attorney. She's getting fame. She's getting adulation for a job well done. She's getting all this publicity for her accomplishments. Well, we all know, women don't get adulation for supporting their husband or raising children or housekeeping. So that right there, it's
not
funny.
Very glamorous.
No, it's funny and it's telling. Likewise, Doris is in a role reversal because it's generally the men who are defending the sanctity of the family. They're shooting the interloper in the fair, and here she is. She's vindicated. She gets off, and this is what generally happened to men, and that was the point of the attorney saying generally men get a free pass and women are prosecuted for this type of thing.
And showing the switching of the genders as Hepburn is doing her closing argument really exposes that double standard.
Yes.
But we have to talk a little bit about George Cukor, today's director. He was known as a woman's director. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, MGM, his studio, coined that phrase as a compliment to him because he directed everyone from Greta Garbo all the way to Marilyn Monroe to great performances. And he was so highly acclaimed. He directed Jean Harlow and Claudette Colbert, Joan Crawford, Ingrid Bergman, Judy Garland, Sophia Loren. I could go on and on. He directed Katherine Hepburn in 10 films. And the moniker, which was supposed to originally a compliment, became a backhanded insult. The implication was, well, yeah, he can direct women, but he doesn't have the right stuff to direct men. And of course, the irony is that George Cukor directed more men to Academy Award-winning performances than any other director.
To this day, correct?
Yeah. Yes, and a record that still stands.
What about his other movies and career in general?
he had a huge career. He was a top director for MGM, which is, of course, the largest, at this time, during Hollywood's golden age, the largest and most prestigious studio. He was the highest paid director at one point at that studio. He had over 50 films, masterpieces, Camille, The Women, Gaslight, A Star is Born, My Fair Lady. There was one fly in the ointment, though, to his stellar career, and that was that he was fired from the biggest movie ever made, Gone with the Wind. And that was a bitter pill to swallow for him. The scuttlebutt was that Clark Gable had gotten him fired, but that doesn't jive with the producer David O. Selznick's voluminous memos on the making of Gone with the Wind. There was 2 years of pre-production, and about halfway through that pre-production period, David O. Selznick was getting concerned that perhaps George Cukor wasn't the right director, wasn't a good fit for this war epic.
And Cukor wasn't happy with his own work either, was he?
Right, and he recounted later he wasn't pleased with his work. And so shortly after principal shooting started, he was replaced with director Victor Fleming.
But it's still a bitter pill to swallow.
Yes.
Because it was so successful.
Right.
This is our third Hepburn film in the Screwball Sunday series. Juxtapose our characters, the three films. Are they different? Are they like?
Each does fit the screwball heroine characteristics of being the women are unconventional, they're self-determined, and they upturn normal relationship and courtship rules. But the three characters are quite different. Our first was bringing a baby in 1938, and Katherine Hepburn played the role of Susan Vance, the zany madcap heiress. And I mean, she did an outstanding job. It was hilarious. And she never played a role like that again the rest of her career. The second film we showed with Katherine Hepburn was The Philadelphia Story, and she plays the character Tracy Lord, who is haughty and aloof. She's an ice queen, untouchable, and she did a great job with that. The third, of course, was today's Amanda Bonner in Adam's Rib, and she is so competent, and she, a working woman, smart, well-educated, out there, fighting for her cause. So she played each role so well. She's such an accomplished actress. She is regarded as a screwball icon.
She sure is. Now, she also had a Palm Springs connection, didn't she?
Yes, she and Spencer Tracy had a home in Old Las Palmas neighborhood of Palm Springs where they could discreetly be together. And so, yes.
A little hideaway.
Their love hideaway.
Well, great. Thank you for that. And thank you for joining us today. I hope
And I guess all those things you've always pined for. Gee, I'd like to see you looking swell, baby. Diamond bracelets Woolworth doesn't sell, baby. Till that lucky day, you know darn well, baby, I can't give you anything but love.